All right, we have here a question about Notre Dame, and you got that in the program notes as well. I don't know if you all saw yesterday, but the fire in the Notre Dame. So I mean, it looks like they've saved a lot of the structure, and they'll be able
I'm amazed at what they were able to do, given what.
It didn't look good because I was watching it live last night. I guess on some European TV station where they were showing the live efforts, and it didn't look like they were going to save much because it looked like it was undermanned and the fire was everywhere. But it was a pretty dramatic pictures, and I have to say, I was really moved by this cathedral burning down, which is kind of bizarre because I'm an atheist. It's just a cathedral. Who cares? But it's a symbol. And if you think about it, it was built in around over 200 years in the 12th and 13th centuries in Paris, which was at the time becoming the center of learning in Europe. It's about the same time as Aristotle is kind of making the first few little footsteps into Western Europe, thanks to those evil Muslims who preserved them in their libraries in Spain. And, so Aristotle is coming back. This is about, I mean, Averroes is not Averroes, what's his name?
Averroes, yeah.
Yeah, he's a little later, but it's generally the same time in European history. This is the birth, in many respects, this is the birth of Western civilization. Now, the cathedral, in many respects, represents the opposite of Western civilization because it represents faith and everything. But it's towering heights, its grandeur represents that period from between the Dark Ages and the Renaissance, between the Dark Ages and ultimately the Enlightenment, when with the rejection of much of Christianity. It's symbolic, in many respects, it's symbolic of kind of the rise of the West and the rise of Western civilization, the architecture and the grandeur of it. And to see it burn like that in France right now, given everything going on in France right now, struck me as very symbolic to kind of the decay and the death of the West. And it was I found it quite striking and quite emotional to watch it burn. It's a beautiful building. I remember being in Paris many times, looking at it, being inside of it, I think once or twice, but certainly looking at it from every place in Paris, you could see it. It's the second tallest building after the Eiffel Tower. And it was very much a symbol, I think, of the rise of the West and the rise of Paris as a cultural center, which it begins to be with the Notre Dame, the Cathedral of Notre Dame.
That roof that was destroyed, I guess 2/3 of it was destroyed, and there was this whole section of it that was constructed of some intricate structure, interweaving structure of wood beams. And I read in one article that it said that engineers hadn't completely understood even the principle on which it was able to stand, that and bear weight and all the stuff that it's done for centuries. So a little bit of a engineering feat as well, one that wasn't fully comprehended. And now they can't test it and do all the different things to.
Well, supposedly they've got scans of everything, so they can recreate it in details. Because recently, some American went in there, some scientist or academic, and scanned everything in great detail, so they'll be able to resurrect it. I would like to see. I mean, I think it would be cool. Is instead of that Gothic thing, they put some modern. I mean, I just think it would be, all right, we're building the modern world on top of it. It would just, because I hate Gothic architecture. I think it's ugly.
Well, someone on Facebook was saying that you're talking about the particular spire, right?
That was in the 19th century, but it was done in the style of the Gothics. Right.
And
then, of course, somebody mentioned this on Facebook. There's the whole emotional connection of Notre Dame to Victor Hugo, who, of course, wrote the beautiful, beautiful book, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I encourage everybody to read. It's just a one of those books that it's hard to get out of your mind once you read it, and it's so emotionally engaging, and the ending is so emotionally eerie and sad and depressed. But it's a beautiful, beautiful book. Anyway, and I think for Hugo, Notre Dame was a major feature of what made Paris Paris, and always I think it played a role in more than just that book. It made a role in a couple of books. Anyway, so
kudos to the firefighters who were able to save so much of the art. I understand that a lot of the art was able to be saved, and most of the structure, and just wow.
Somebody's saying here cynically that why don't we blame Trump for lighting the fire, because we blame him for every other problem in the world, right? Irrationally so. I am happy that the firefighters didn't follow Trump's advice about dropping water from airplanes on the top, because it turns out that most experts believe that would have destroyed the structure much more than it did. That volume of water just dropping would have been a disaster. Anyway.